Hello friends, welcome back to the bench. Thank you very much for joining me. Our patient is AK752, which makes it a 2006 Subaru Forester, which misfires. So we're gonna replace IC608 on it to resolve all the misfires, and we're gonna have a happy customer. That's what we do. Now, oh, check this out. I don't think I've seen this before. See? Zero conformal coating. There's a little bit here, and there's some here and here, but on this side, it's all clean. Everywhere here. So it was not properly dipped in conformal coating. But it's not, there are some drops of the conformal coating. It's not necessarily, you know, the ECM is inside the car, inside the cabin, right, underneath the passenger's feet, front passenger's feet. So, you know, technically it should be dry, and it is quite well protected under the aluminum plate. So it shouldn't actually require sealing, but they do for whatever reason. And on this one, they figured, nah, we're good. We're good. We don't need it. Alrighty, let's get this done. It's kind of gloomy day today. Hard to get motivated. I prefer when it's nice and sunny, even hot, even too hot. People around here don't like when it's hot. I love it because I come from a cold country. So I don't mind when it's too hot. I mean, sure, it gets uncomfortable when it's way too hot, but, you know, just dress appropriately, find some shade from time to time, it's good. I don't even use AC in my office. I have all the vents blocked. And it gets a little hot, but I don't like AC. I always get sick when the AC starts blasting. Anyways, we have a lot of news in the news. A lot of stuff, so it's kind of hard to even keep up with the news nowadays. But let's not make it a political rant. Let me just say very quickly, as I come from a country in which I've seen what can happen when stuff like this is happening. And sure, I was born in '82, right? Poland broke out of Soviet Union in '89, and until like '92, everything, you know, the Soviet Union collapsed. And there was, so I was a kid, so maybe I don't necessarily remember it as an eyewitness, but obviously, you know, it was so recent during my lifetime that obviously I've heard a lot of stories from my parents, from my family in general, right? All their friends, grandparents, all that stuff, right? So I'm just gonna quickly say that when things like this happen, you have a very small window of opportunity to kind of fight against that. Maybe fight against that is not the right word. Basically stand up for freedom and liberty. It's a very small window of opportunity, and once it is closed, our kids, the next generation, they're gonna have to spill a lot of blood to get that liberty back. It's very hard to get it back once you lose it. So be very careful when there are tanks on the streets and the military is deployed against its own citizens, when the soldier needs to make a decision whether to follow orders and, I don't know, arrest, harass, or even shoot at his fellow Americans. That's not the best, fellas. It's not the best, and I am officially warning you. Because yeah, you can call me, you know, names and, you know, call me liberal, crazy person. Sure, it's fine. But or you can just say, I'm actually surprised no one made that argument. This used to be a very popular argument. Like, if you don't like it, go back to your country, right? No one ever said that to me for some reason, and that's an argument that I was expecting. Someone in the comments said that the President Trump is the best president because other countries been ripping us off for years. And I assume he referred to the trade deficit. So I politely explained responded to the comment and politely explained what the trade deficit is and what it isn't. I don't think I made any progress with that person, but if you want to use that argument with me, just remember that, I have places that I can immigrate to. I have places that I can go to. I speak languages. I'm familiar with cultures. I'll be fine. You, on the other hand, you're gonna have to stay here because that's your home. You don't speak languages. You're not familiar with other cultures. You're not gonna assimilate easy, even if you had to leave to some other country. You're not gonna assimilate as easy as I would. So, I'm warning you for your sake, not for mine. I'll be fine, is my point. But yeah, if you have a different opinion, feel free to share it in the comment. My comment section is open and will always remain open. No censorship or anything, and I'm always happy to discuss things. So anyways, that concludes political part of this discussion. We don't have to talk about it. Let's see what's gonna happen on tomorrow, on Saturday, and how is the military parade gonna go. But it is very concerning when there are tanks on the streets. Very concerning. Anyway, recently, it wasn't recently, it was a couple months ago actually, when the Richard Allen's Interrogation has been released. Who is Richard Allen? The Delphi case, right? I never really followed the case that much when it was unfolding, and that's how I like to do it nowadays. Because I used to follow a lot of cases, but with all of the armchair detectives, YouTubers sharing opinions and jumping to conclusions. Actually, not really jumping to conclusions. Obviously, as viewers, we don't have all the evidence, all the information that the police and detectives have. So some decisions don't quite make sense to us, or maybe we form opinions like someone's innocent or guilty based on the information we have. But since we have very limited information, then obviously you are susceptible to being wrong, and it's not really your fault. It's not a fault of any YouTubers being wrong. It's that is how it works, right? If you don't have information, then anyways, now that we do have the interrogation footage, we can form a little better opinion, right? Because until that interrogation was released, actually still it is quite divided. It feels like it is quite divided now still, meaning some people say he's innocent, some people say he's guilty. So I decided to watch the interrogation quite a few times, and I'm still gonna watch it probably a few times more, because every time I watch it, I just catch up on another detail or stuff. But some time ago, say few years now. Oh my god, why is it? This is not melting, and I'm at 380 here. It became very popular. The body language became very, very popular. right? Especially in terms of cases like that. Especially, I think it mainly started with Chris Watts and Russell Williams, and those very interesting cases. So a lot of channels came out of that, analyzing body language. I'm not a big fan of body language analysis because it is at best inconclusive, and at worst just plain nonsense. The guy scratched his left butt cheek, that means he's lying. That kind of stuff. Or the blink rate increased, or nah. That's why the polygraph is not submissible in court. Right? It cannot be submitted as evidence of anything because it isn't an evidence of anything. It's just inconclusive. Now, the polygraphs are being used, but they are being used more as an intimidation tactics and basically interrogation prop. Right? Like sometimes detectives refer to polygraph as a lie detector and also say, which is not. It's not a lie detector, it's a polygraph. It monitors vitals, right? And the idea is that the vitals will change as your stress levels change, right? But your stress levels don't have to change because you're lying. Actually, I would never take a take a polygraph, mainly because it's not like it's gonna exonerate you, right? If you pass. If you fail, that also doesn't mean that you're now charged with something. No, it's just it's kind of like PBT, right? The preliminary breath test kit that the cops can give you, which is what I would personally do. I would not go through a field sobriety test because, man, I don't think I can do that. Stone cold sober. I wouldn't be able to do that. So I would always ask for. It never happened, but I would ask for a PBT. But even if PBT says that I have alcohol in my system and I'm driving, even that is not submissible in court because this is just something that helps the officer make a decision whether to arrest me and take me to take the breath sample at the station with the proper machine, properly calibrated machine. That pocket PBT, it can be off by a lot, but again, it's not a proof of anything. So the lie detector test, again, if you pass, it didn't change anything, you're not exonerated, and if you fail, it still didn't change anything but raises eyebrows. When I was a kid, my grandma used to be or maybe let me rephrase, you don't need the whole story. One time my grandma asked me about something. I don't remember, like whether I did something or didn't do something or something like that. And I answered no or yes, whatever. I answered truthfully, right? I gave her a truthful answer. But she concluded that I was lying because I turned red, right? She said, oh, your face turned red, you're lying. That was wrong because I wasn't lying, but I turned red because that was a quite accusatory tone that she took, and yeah, that was stressful to me. Being accused, being asked difficult questions, that's gonna spike your vitals, or depending on what kind of person you are. If you're a psychopath, then probably not. That's why polygraphs cannot be used in court, because if you don't have emotions, or if you believe, it's not a lie if you believe it's true, right? So that's why we need evidence. We need hard evidence to conclude anything, not just a result of a polygraph or whatever. So that's why I personally would not take a polygraph, because my vitals would probably spike if suddenly someone started grilling me about something, right, and asking difficult questions and stuff. But the way polygraph works is we establish baseline, and the same with the body language. The idea is that you establish baseline, and then you measure deviation from that baseline, and that is the idea of reading body language. But if you're asking me what color shirt am I wearing and is my name Raf, yeah, I'm not gonna have any reaction. But then if you ask me, did you steal $10,000 from the bank yesterday, obviously I'm gonna have some reaction to that question. So body language, very unreliable, extremely unreliable. It's at best inconclusive. But statement analysis is very effective, because it's not about how you say it, it's about what you say. And you decide what you say, right? It's a conscious decision. How you say things, how you phrase things can be a very good indicator of what your motives are. Like basically, what do you want to talk about? Where are you evading a little bit, right? It's relatively reliable, or at least compared to the body language, it is very reliable in comparison, right? Again, it's still not a proof of anything, but in many cases, especially in jury trial, it's the jury that needs to make a decision, right? And obviously they can only use what they saw in the trial, but they will, well, depending on the juror, but they might take your statement, as they should, as a big factor in deciding whether to vote guilty or innocent, right? So, how does it work? It's actually very simple. You just listen, nothing more. If you have the ability to ask questions, follow-ups, that is a skill that you need to acquire. So, that's what typically detectives are trained in, to just watch for those little omissions, and ask poignant, clarifying questions, right? Don't let the subject just get away with vague answers. Always ask for clarification. That's what my grandma used to be like. She was a skillful interrogator, because now I could not get away with anything. And because she would always, whenever I would give like vague answer to something, she would drill until I give a convincing statement with no ambiguity. So basically, what statement analysis is just you just listen. There's this great channel that Deception Detective. He came up with a 52 rules for spotting deception, which he calls a deception deck. Coincidentally, 52, like 52 cards in the deck of cards, and each one is like kind of a short description with an example and stuff. I might actually get one. I'll see how much it is, just for fun, curiosity sake. It's not like I have to interrogate anyone on the daily basis or do statement analysis, but it is a very useful skill if you can spot when someone is trying to deceive you or manipulate you. So that's mainly would be the reason why I would get it. But there was a case because basically when Richard Allen was being interrogated, he didn't know that he was being interrogated. He didn't know he was being suspected even. But there's a big difference between the person that is innocent and it goes and the person goes to the interrogation room and is being grilled by the detectives, and the person that is guilty, they did something, they did exactly what they're being suspected of doing, they're gonna act differently. And one interesting case, actually maybe the case wasn't too interesting, but the interrogation was interesting because it was very skillfully done by the detectives. Ali Rodardi. It doesn't matter what he did, but he was asked about the victim in this case, right? And well, he was asked relatively an open-ended question, like basically, tell me about that person, and the innocent person, right? If someone asked me, a friend of mine from work or whatever, I don't know anything, right? And I'm being brought to the interrogation room, and the cops ask me, well, tell me about that guy, right? What would I say? I don't know, but I met him at work. I don't know, we worked together. And I don't know, like short answers to the point, right? I don't really have anything else to say about that. Now, if you're trying to hide something, your answer is gonna be lengthy, and it's gonna include a lot of unnecessary details, because that's kind of what we do when we're nervous, and especially when we want to avoid talking about something. We're gonna latch on to anything other than that, and we're gonna go on the tangents, talking about everything other than this, or wrapping this key moment into like big story. That's kind of what we do. That's our natural response to both stress and uncertainty of the future that lies ahead. It's, if you're going to the interrogation room being guilty, right, knowing you're guilty, yeah, it's not gonna go well to you, for you, and that's something that detectives are well trained in doing, just spotting that. That's why first, when you are brought to the interrogation room, you are left there by yourself, right, and the camera keeps recording, and your behavior is being observed, right? And there was this case of the man that he was convicted on basically getting rid of his wife. The whole scene made no sense. Supposedly, she fell in the bathtub, right, and hit her head like 60 times, something like that. But it was whew. But basically, it didn't make sense from the very beginning. They brought the guy in to the interrogation room and said, we'll be back in 5 minutes, and they left him there for 4 hours, over 4 hours. And after 4 hours, he knocked on the door because he needed to use the bathroom, and he said, I'm sorry to bother you, but I need to use the bathroom. Now, that's not how innocent man behaves. Your wife just had an accident, right? She died from the accident, and you're brought for 4 hours to the interrogation room. No one's telling you anything, where your wife is, what happened, or anything, and you're just sitting for 4 hours in the interrogation room, and then you're overly polite. That is one of the deception detectives card in the deception deck, when overly being polite, basically. When something happened and you had nothing to do with it, you're not going to be polite, you're going to be demanding, typically. You're gonna want to find out what happened and what are you being accused of, or that kind of stuff. You're not going to be polite, especially in cases of missing kids and stuff. If the parents of missing kids are super polite to cops, that's not normal. No, if your kid is missing, my kid, one time we were camping, and it was like a few families, there was plenty of kids, And well, my son didn't actually, disappear. He was like behind the trailer, or playing with one other friend, and the group of kids was in the other position. Oh my God, I was not polite, because I was asking the kids like, where's my son, and they would just go, "Boop, I don't know." And I would get angry, like, what do you mean you don't know? No, everybody stop. Everybody stop doing what they're doing until I find my son. you know, Whoa. Uh, I'm a bit of a helicopter parent, I guess, because obviously, he didn't get lost, and my wife also was a little less concerned. Like, no, come on, it's I'm sure it's fine. We're gonna find him. Calm down. And I was, like snapping at everybody. So that is normal. Your kid is missing, and the cops want to take you to the interrogation room and talk to you for 4 hours. No, screw that. No, I'm gonna be walking around looking for my son, and I want answers, and I want everybody looking for him. Not interrogating me. That is a normal reaction from a parent. Now, can there be exceptions? Of course. Sure, we're all different, but typically that's how it works. So, statement analysis just kind of is based on that. It's not the deviation from your baseline; it's a deviation from normalcy, the normal reactions that the human would have to the situation. If your reaction is way different, that raises eyebrows. Again, this is not an evidence of anything, but when you're a juror, you have to make a decision whether someone's guilty or innocent, and you can use that as a very effective tool to determine whether you want to believe someone, or whether, because you have to make a decision. It's not like it's you volunteered. It's not like you have a choice. I mean, you can, you have a choice. You can, maybe you don't have a choice, but you can probably do something to kind of exclude yourself from the being on the jury, all right? George Carlin had this joke, like how to get out of the jury duty. You tell the prosecutor and the defense that you would be an excellent juror because you can spot guilty people like that. And obviously you're not going to be considered. So, you have a choice in that regards, but you have to make a decision, right? Whether you like it or not. So, for Richard Allen, it's pretty much the same as with Lee Rodardi. They bring him in, and the questions that are being asked are like simple questions, as simple as it gets. Like, really, what were you driving, right? What time did you get there? Did you go to the high bridge? What were you wearing? Innocent person. For those 4 questions, innocent person would have answered relatively quickly, and to just convey information. That was, I don't remember who said that, but someone said that innocent people convey information, guilty people convince. All right, something like that. So your statement is going to be more of a convincing statement, like convincing you of something, and the innocent person's statement is going to be more of a conveying statement. So short and to the point, basically, right? So to those 4 questions, an innocent person would the interrogation would have lasted, or this whole interaction would have lasted maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes tops, if they speak slowly, like myself, if they're slow speakers. But it would have been really quick, really painless. But Richard, what does Richard do? Richard, when asked what he was driving, we learn that half of his life story, how he bought the car, and why he bought the car. When asked about what he was wearing, again, he was in the military, and his life story is revealed, which nobody asked for. Did you go to the high bridge? How far did you go? Obviously, that was a few years back, right? So maybe your memory is not going to be that fresh. It's not going to be that accurate. But again, quick answer. But no, not only we hear really long-winded story, but also we see common in deception, distancing language. Basically, instead of saying I, we say we, right? So like suddenly he's not alone in this. Suddenly his wife is somehow in this story when he is being asked whether he went to the high bridge or how far did he go. Suddenly it's we, right? Nope, I'm not buying that. It's kind of like with so statement analysis regarding Chris Watts's performance when he was being asked about, again, simple questions like what time did you leave this morning? Usually around 4:45 or 5 o'clock or something like that. It's not the question that was asked. Not usually this, and the police officer didn't challenge that, and I think that is a kind of a protocol. You don't want to be too confrontational, right? Even if you suspect that the guy is lying, you don't want to confront. You want to allow the guy to make his statement, and the rest, detectives will do the rest. But the officer did, right? Because if he answered the question like that to me, obviously not in that situation, but if I asked what time did you leave this morning, and he said usually around 5, I would say no, not usually. This morning, what time? Listen to my question. This morning, what time did you leave? Not usually. But the officer just asked, okay, and what's Shannon there when you left? There is also an interesting story that is unfolding now. You probably have heard of it. The Sullivan family, or the kids. 2 kids are missing, right? At this point, that's all we know. But they just completely disappeared. Kids don't disappear like that. Even if they are being kidnapped. But if they are being kidnapped, that maybe it happens when, someone snatches a kid at the playground, or, in the crowded theater, or something like that. But not at the house. That means someone had to drive in, kidnap 2 kids, which, I understand one kid would probably be difficult, kicking and screaming and stuff, but 2 kids? Then that means that probably would have to be 2 people, right? Maybe even 3 to kidnap kids and a driver, right? Nobody's seen anything. No strange cars. There are trail cams. They didn't catch anything. Neither the kidnappers or kids, right? They just vanished, completely vanished. And actually, Deception Detective is covering that case between the others. So I'm not gonna be repeating stuff, but it's very sus. And what I do know is, everyone can see it, right? The family lives in a trailer, but not in a nice trailer. You see that it is trashy. It is trashy outside, a lot. I don't know what's inside, but judging by the outside, inside is going to be looking even worse. Recently, I've seen the body cam footage. The 3-year-old kid was living in the. It kind of looked like a trailer, but it's more like a small house. Oh my God! I've I've seen bad conditions with my own eyes, right? With kids being in horrible conditions, but that's nothing compared to that, what I've seen on that body cam. It's, oh my God, I wouldn't even want to walk into that house. Just walk in it, and the kid is playing over there, or playing, just living over there. Like, oh my God, crazy. But that is pretty much the situation with these kids over here, right? It looks like it's trashy. It's just trashy. And when you live in a trashy place, right? Be it a trailer or house or whatever, right? If it's really trashy around you, right? The only person that it hurts and the only person that it should bother is you, right? Because I don't have to live there, so I don't care. Even if you invite me for coffee and I see that you live in the filth, it's not gonna bother me too much because I don't have to live there. It should bother you, right? But if it doesn't, that usually is an indication of substance abuse, either alcohol, drugs, or a combination of two, because that's the only way you can actually ignore that. I mean, I'm not talking about hoarders, because that's a different ballpark. That's a mental disorder, so that's different. But if you're mentally healthy and you live in trash, then most likely you are a substance abuser, some kind of substance. So naturally, when I see that trashy trailer, I immediately think that there's probably some substance abuse over there. And when you have substance abuse and the kids, sometimes kids go missing, but they're not actually missing. Somebody knows where they are. So this is very sus. At this point, we don't know what's going on, but it's very sus to me. Anyways, concluding Richard Dallins, because I hear that there are still people kind of on the fence because he confessed, right? Or at least I didn't hear those phone calls, but I heard a transcript of them. And yeah, it does seem like he's confessing. But my standard is different, because why do you believe when the man says he did it, yet you didn't believe him when he said he didn't do it? To me, that is contradicting statements, which means both statements go outside the window. So we can only rely on evidence that either proves that he did it or exonerates him. There is no evidence that would exonerate him. He was there, self-admittedly. He was wearing clothes that seems like the clothes that the bridge guy wore. He's got similar body type, similar hat, all that. So, there is no evidence that would exonerate him. Is there evidence that would conclude beyond reasonable doubt that he is a bridge guy? That would be my point. So mainly just I don't agree with people being certain that he's guilty because he confessed, because it's just not fair. You can't not believe man that says he didn't do it, but believe him when he changes his story and says he did do it. Obviously, he's got some mental issues. That was very evident, both in the interrogation and overall from all the evidence and testimony and stuff. So, I do not take his confession into account one bit. What I do take into account is that first interrogation, not the second one, the first one. Because at this point, they telling him, you're not under arrest. Yet, they read him his Miranda rights. Typically, when you're a witness to something, or you're just testifying, or not even testifying. Well, you will testify in court, but you're just talking to the detectives and they're asking you about the neighbor or something, right? They're just going to ask you, and then at the end of the interview, they might just ask you to confirm or to swear that the testimony you gave is true and accurate to the best of your recollection, to the best of your knowledge. All right? But that's it. They're not going to read you your Miranda rights. If anyone reads you your Miranda rights, you are in custody and there's interrogation going. Why is that? Because that potentially or most definitely will be used in the trial against you. So you need to be aware, or at least that is the law. I don't really agree with that because obviously you don't know what you're saying yes to, right? Because the cops will always use this soft language describing that, since you're here and there's just a formality, I just want to make sure you know your rights and stuff like that. But no, that's not true. The true is that we suspect you and we are certain enough that this is going to go to court, and this interrogation that we are about to have with you is going to be presented as an evidence, and it's going to look very, very bad for you. So it's in your best interest to just ask for an attorney and end this interrogation right now. But obviously they're not going to tell you that, and I'm not saying that they should, because unfortunately sometimes innocent people get caught into that, the read technique and all those interrogation tactics, unfortunately. But for the most part, they don't do it just to anyone, right? There's got to be some sufficient evidence to bring someone into the interrogation room. In this case, it was the video, and I don't know if they had a shell casing or the cartridge then already. I mean, I'm sure they had it, but they didn't know it was cycled through Alan's gun. But that was pretty. When the case was still ongoing and there weren't a lot of details, I do remember that this was a big piece of evidence. But I was thinking, since there was no other information, just like we found the cartridge and it was cycled through the guy's gun. But that only means that the cartridge has been found, that has been cycled through his gun, and that is the place that he would go, right? So how do we know he didn't leave that cartridge over there the day before or 2 days before or something like that? That is the purpose of the interrogation, because now we have a big piece of evidence. We don't want to reveal it. We don't want Alan to know about that, but there is an explanation that it was left there a day earlier. So naturally, without spoofing anything, without exposing your tactic, you ask about that. Like, did you go there yesterday or today, or other than that day? When were you there? Before or after or whatever, right? So you're clarifying that, so to basically close off as many opportunities for the person to kind of explain away the evidence, right? And it was the same with Lee Rodardi. They also started by asking all those questions that would kind of, if he didn't submit himself to the interrogation, he could have explained the whole situation really beneficially to him. But he at the end he confessed, and I don't know if they even gave him a plea deal. I think he just confessed in the interrogation. That part of the footage was not released until the trial, and I think now there is, but I haven't seen it. But that is the main purpose. So that's what they did with Richard Allen. And again, I am convinced because of him trying to get away with it. You know, innocent people don't try to get away with anything, and people who have nothing to hide hide nothing. He had a lot to hide, and that's why I think that first interrogation was the most damning one. Plus a lot of evidence. But as I said again, I don't include his confession as anything meaningful. Although it did seem pretty convincing. But yeah, again, I don't think we should use that as an evidence of anything. Alrighty, our chip is replaced. It looks good. It was a little bit. I'm not sure what's up with that. I do think that I probably should have used a chisel tip. I thought I wouldn't need it, but as you can see, I got a chisel tip, and I probably should have used it here because I was having problems removing the solder. I even had to put lead-free or leaded solder on it just to clean it. Typically, I don't have to do that on the chisel tip. So it's not even around about, because I even increased to 180 to 380. I'm just gonna drop to 360 again. I think it's mainly because chisel tip just have much more surface contact area, surface. This one has very little. So yeah, I guess I thought I would get away with one tip for all, but it looks like it's not possible. Looks like you do need to switch them up a bit. Alrighty, we're gonna finish here. Thank you guys very much for watching. I do appreciate you. Hope you enjoyed the rant today, and I shall see you in the next one.